Now, whenever we're developing Flutter code, the chances are we're not going to get everything perfectly right the very first time. And although this course is nice and polished, don't think for 1 second that I didn't have to figure out some issues while I was writing this course. Now, in Flutter and in almost every other language, there's 3 main core concepts of debugging your code. Now, debugging just means solving or trying to figure out what the issue within the code is. So the most basic way of debugging code is to add a print statement. We're going to put out a print statement here just to check that if this part runs. Let's say it does this part run. I don't know, you can put whatever text you want in there, but we save it. And now when we go to add, we can bring up this console here, the debug console. If we add a to-do, we can say record this video, add to-do, boom, there you go. Print statement comes out here, says this part is running. So if we were debugging this code, let's say we're getting to this function, we know we're getting here, because we saw that this part does actually print out, so this part ran, so it must be a problem somewhere in here. Obviously our app's working perfectly fine, so we don't actually have a problem here, but if it wasn't, this is how you would do it. So the second biggest way is by setting up breakpoints. If you're using Flutter or whatever other software, you can hover over here, and you'll see you can set a little red dot. We can set a red dot here, here, anywhere. You can set as many red dots as you want. Now what this red dot is, it's called a breakpoint. So let's actually set it here before we actually get to this statement. So what a breakpoint is while your code is running, it gets paused right at this point. And you can see what different things are going on at this specific pause point. So let's go add another to-do item. We'll do record video again. Add to-do, and boom, you see breakpoint get executed. Your line gets highlighted yellow. You see this little arrow over here over our red dot, and our app is frozen in time. So what's going on here? So when we hit our breakpoint, you get to see all the variables and the current data within the application. So specifically, we're working with this to-do list notifier. What can we check here? We can look at the state before it gets changed. So if we open this up, you'll see there's a state right here with 0 items. That means there's currently nothing in our list here. If we set a breakpoint over here after it runs, so we can click play, you'll see now the state has 1 item in it, and it's a to-do item with record video in it. And you might have noticed these play and pause buttons up here. So these other buttons, so you have play, which continues the execution. You have step over, which steps over the next line. You have step into, which goes into the next function. And you have step out, which goes out of this function. So I usually just click play, and let's say I want to figure out what it is at a different point in the app. I would just set it to that other point. So let's say maybe we want it here. I click play, the app's working, and then I go to delete. Boom, I get another breakpoint here. So at this breakpoint, you'll see our state is still at 1 because it hasn't executed the whole deleting part yet. So that's how you use breakpoints. You set these little spots in the code where you want your application pause, where you can see what kind of data it has and what kind of data it doesn't have. But you also get something else. You get this thing called a call stack. So call stack is very useful to try to figure out how we got to this point. Let's see if we can expand that some more. Our call stack sometimes is useful to try to figure out how we got to this situation or what path we took to get to this part. So if we click on it, you'll see we're in the to-do, delete to-do function, which is perfectly fine. How we got there? We got there from the My Home page. Now this obviously is a simple example of this. We know that we had this action over here that calls delete to do, and from this we jump into our function, and that's how we got there. This on press is actually handled within the custom slidable action handle tap function. So this is from the actual package we're using. Usually you don't really need to go that deep because the package is hopefully tested and it's a good package, or something within Flutter which is also tested, so you don't really need to go that deep. But if you have one function calling another function, calling another function, calling another function, then you can go into the call stack and figure out exactly how we got to this point of our execution stack. So yeah, breakpoints are very useful. You can pause the code, see how you got there, and whenever you get an error, it actually gives you a call stack as well, so you can go through the code, see how the heck you got to that error part. And those are the key tools of debugging an application.